It's the 19th of January and I am going to start knitting another pair of socks. So my goal is to knit 3 pairs of socks this month, and I've already knit 2 pairs. This is the first pair. And this is the second pair. And you might recognize this colorway. And you might also recognize, okay, just stuff falling on the floor. That's great, great job. I have a shelf up there and everything just fell off. Yes, and you might recognize this colorway, right? Right. So that means we have leftovers. We have 2 bouts of leftovers. There's actually 60 grams here. So 60 grams to make 1 sock. Now normally, can't remember, I think there's about 60 grams here. Now normally my socks take about 55 grams of wool. However, this guy, this sock, this one took 60 grams. This guy took 60 grams, which is more than 55, which is interesting because actually now there's only 40 of this left, which means I now have significantly less overall. And I was thinking this might be enough to bolster it to make it enough to make a pair. But as it stands, I barely have, I don't have 60 grams here. I have 60 grams here is what I meant to say. I barely have enough wool here for 1 pair of socks. So actually, I might run out of wool. I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm not going to run out of this, am I? But actually, I think I might run out of both of these, which is a very interesting situation. So this is Orquidea, this is Atlantico, so I'm going to call these socks the Orquidea Atlantico socks. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. I'll name, because, yeah, I'll name after the colorway, as I always do. These are the Orquidea socks. So, what I'm thinking, stripe this throughout the leg so you get a nice visible leg of stripes. However, for however long I have this, knit these 2 at a time, but on separate needles to make my life easier. And then see if I have enough to finish the socks. I might not even have enough. I think I'm going to run out. I think this is a proper game of yarn chicken. Yes. However, not quite, because I have a backup plan. Hello. I have this. Now this is definitely reading a lot more green than these 2, right? In real life, this one's a bit more teal. It's less blue. A bit more teal. This one's definitely more on the blue side, right? Now this is a totally different brand. This is Moonlight Fibers Gaia. Yes, very, very pretty, beautiful. I actually have 2 skeins of this. I have this partial and I have a full untouched hank. However, I really don't want to be using this because I actually want to use, once I've knitted all the socks I can with my sock yarn, I actually want to go back and knit my mum a hat with this and the other hank. So I probably only have about 150 grams to knit mum a hat with. So I'd rather not have to buy more wool to knit mum a hat. So because I kind of want to knit mum the hat, I kind of don't want to use this. But if I only have to knit a few stripes for the toe, then that's not that big a deal. Yeah, you know, if you imagine a just need Gaia for like this last little bit, that's not really a huge disaster now, is it? That won't really sink into this in a significant manner. But if I run out like here, oh, that could be dicey. So it wouldn't only create yarn chicken here, but here in the separate, completely separate project that I want to do. Not immediately after this project, but soon, yes. But also I do want to knit 3 socks this month, simply because A, I want to de-stash because I have a silly amount of wool for given my storage requirements, and B, because pretty socks. You can't really argue with the pretty socks now, can you? I want pretty socks. So yeah, this is going to be hopefully the last pair I knit for the month, and hopefully I'll finish before the end of the month because in July, that's the start of Tour de Fleece, and I don't really want to be knitting over Tour de Fleece. I want to just focus on spinning. That would be wonderful if I just spend the whole of Tour de Fleece just spinning nice fibre and actually making a dent in my fibre stash, that would be great. But yeah, I'm going to cast this on now and wish me luck in the game of chicken. Cast on now. Off to the races. Why does it look so... Oh look, if I move it slightly over here, we have a bit more colour. I don't know why it was looking like it was black and white for some reason. Don't know. There, have colour. Wow, that really is desaturated. Huh. This camera does strange things. I don't know why that's grey. But this is just grey now. This is my grey life. Welcome to my grey life. Everything is grey. And subtly desaturated because the camera has decided to just... It doesn't like colour anymore. Okay. Oh, Boo. Do you want to cuddle, Boo? Aww. Yeah. You love a Boo. Brush your head into my legs. You're sweet. You're really sweet. Oh. Oh, I love you. Hello. Look at you. Oh, don't growl at him. You pushed her away. And now you have an itch. There we go. That didn't take long at all. So I just knit 10 rows of the Atlantico. And I have now... It's 12 meters. So this is 12 meters, about 3 grams. And yeah, that did not take long at all. It was very weirdly addicting. I think because I went from knitting the ribbing at such a fine gauge, 2mm, into the just plain stockinette at 2.5, there's sort of a part of my brain that was like, yes, the end of the ribbing. So this just went whoo, super quick. I was going to stop here, not break this, so that I can easily unravel this and knit rows on the other sock if I don't have enough here to do the 10. However, this is about 7 grams and this took about 3, so I think I do have enough for another stripe, which is cool because I have one 10 row stripe on both socks, and then I'll probably have one tiny little stripe as well in the foot, and then that'll be this fully used up. And then maybe I'll have enough of this to actually finish both socks. We'll see about that because I'm not sure. The curse of the big ribbing is that this uses more wool, of course. The fact that this uses more wool probably means that it's not the wisest of decisions if I wanted to just make socks with just these two. But the advantage of this is you could say, well, these are scrappy socks. They're scrappy. I'm using up scraps. These are leftovers after all. In all seriousness, these are leftovers. I bet you didn't think scrappy socks would look like this, with just the two colours that are very close to each other. I mean, look how blended that is. I mean, if this was like a self-striping variegated thing, you'd totally believe that because these two work so well together. It's insane. I'm picking this as my main colour. One, because there's more of it, but really the main reason this is the main colour in the cuff, and the colour I want to draw the most attention to, because the cuff is like the first thing you'll notice when you're walking around with like a skirt or shorts or whatever. The reason why this is the main colour, secondly, is because this is really pale. It's really like, ooh, subtle and stuff, and there's loads of white in it and stuff, and I just think this works better as an accent background and not as well as like a dominant main color. I think it's just not, it just isn't enough. So this to me is a good contender for using for accents and things like that. This is a better main color. This is the star of the show. I mean, look at it, it's so pretty. It deserves to be the star of the show. It's funny because I've actually gotten 3 socks out of this now. 3 socks, which is way more than I expected. I got, oh, I don't have them on me. I've got one pair that's just this, and I've got the other pair you saw before that's got that rainbow hirachi with this. This has gone very far. Weirdly enough, because I knit those really long socks because I've weighed this, I don't actually think this will go as far, which is super interesting. I don't know why. I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is. I will enjoy it while it lasts, and then make pretty socks out of it that I can then wear. Yes, perfect. So I finished the leg for both of these now, and as you can see, I've got one stripe of the paler colour, one stripe of the darker colour, one stripe of the paler colour on both socks. And one thing I should mention is I know I was concerned about running out of wool, but firstly, I have more wool in my stash, so I could just like end the last few rows at a toe in a different colour and it wouldn't be that big a deal, it's fine. Secondly, some people might say, oh, why don't you just make the leg shorter? Well, the main reason I'm not making the leg shorter per se is because I can't actually wear ankle socks. And the reason why I can't wear ankle socks is because of the shape of my foot. The shape of my foot, it's wider in the front and I have a very, very narrow heel. So that means that firstly, I struggle to find shoes that fit me for a start. Secondly, when it comes to socks, if I have a sock that doesn't have enough leg, it will just fall off my feet within 5 minutes. I literally won't be able to wear it. And as one thing I cannot stand is clothing. You have to adjust every 2 seconds. I put on clothing, I expect it to stay put. So that is the main reason why I always have a leg in my socks. Now, I could have made this leg smaller, maybe like here or here, and the ribbing would probably be enough. But I think because of the sort of like the comfort of the fact that, you know, I struggle so much with shorter socks that having more length just feels more comfortable, more secure to me. Now, another thing I want to address. Right here, you might think, oh, those are twisted stitches, right? Well, actually, if we can zoom in enough, oh, camera, barely. But a twisted stitch means that one leg will cross over the other leg. This, if I sort of stretch this out a bit, that's actually not what's happening here. There you go, that's a better view. You can see actually what's happening is one leg is looser than the other leg, but they're not actually crossed over. Now, when you hear people online saying, oh, you can fix twisted stitches with blocking, that's usually not true. That's usually not true because of the mechanics of a twisted stitch, where one leg crosses over the other leg, like this. And that means that is not something that can be corrected with blocking. The only way to correct that is to rip it out, reknit it. Reknit it so they're not twisted. But in this case, camera, we're having arguments today, clearly. In this case, one leg is not twisted over the other leg. Therefore, this is not actually a twisted stitch issue. This is a tension issue. If one leg is looser than the other leg. You see, one leg is looser than the other, but if I stretch this out, you can see that actually that one leg is not twisted over the other. Therefore, these aren't actually twisted stitches, even though from a distance they look like twisted stitches. What's actually happening is one leg is looser than the other. And that means that this is the kind of issue that I believe will be fixed with blocking. And that's an important distinction to make, because if these were like properly twisted stitches like this, then that would never fix with blocking. that is a rip it out, redo it. But because the stitches are like this, but one is looser than the other, like this, that means that will fix some blocking. So I am not concerned about this, but I am aware of it. And this can happen for various reasons. It can happen because my tension was slightly off. It can happen because of the way the wool itself is spun. That can sometimes cause it, but based on the fact that it's only this one row and not everywhere, I don't think it's the wool itself that's causing it. I think it's me. I think I'm the issue. And you know, that can happen sometimes because we're all human. But aside from that, the tension is pretty darn consistent. So I think this is the kind of issue that I think would block out quite nicely. So not concerned, but I am aware. So if you see this in any of the clips, I am aware, and it shall be resolved, and all shall be well. Yes. But more to the point, the legs are done. As you can see, I managed 2 full 10-row stripes of each of the pale colours. And want to know how much of the pale colour I've got left? Well then, that's not a lot, is it? A lot of people would take this and be like, oh, throw it away because I can't make anything with this. What do you do with this? But I reckon I can get at least some rows out of this. And using my usual strategy of going from each end and knitting from each end and not detaching the wool until I'm confident that they're matching, so I can keep both socks looking the same. Because these are scrappy socks, don't you know? They don't look like scrappy socks, right? But they are. But I like my scrappy socks to match. Yes, that would be grand. Thank you very much. And the giftie will be really quite happy that I'm using up, that all of her gifted skeins are coming to good use. And this is the second of the 3 from that Christmas present. So I think what I might do, take all of the socks that I made with the 3 skeins that she gifted me, and I'll probably photograph them all together. So that's all that's left of her Christmas present. So she'll be quite pleased that this is actually being used and not just sitting on a shelf forever. And also because of my storage situation, I don't want to have a stash that's too big. And right now I think my stash is a little bit too big for comfort. So I do want to reduce my stash a little bit by using it up and enjoying it in lovely projects. So that's exactly what I intend to do. I'm going to take this, and I'm fairly confident I've got enough for both heels. So I'll knit the heel out of this, and then after that, I will start on the rows of Atlantico, and we will see how far we get. Okay, it's the next day, and it's the 30th of June. And what's quite interesting today is I'm pretty sure this is the last day I have before Tour de Fleece, meaning these socks have a bit of a deadline on them. Because if I don't finish them before Tour de Fleece starts, when I'm probably only going to be spinning, I'm going to be doing no knitting during Tour de Fleece. That likely means these will stay unfinished until after Tour de Fleece. I only have a limited time to finish these before Tour de Fleece, meaning that I need to either get these done before Tour de Fleece or these will have to wait until afterwards. In which case these could be months on the needles, which is not ideal. Again, it's mostly because of the heat. I kind of expected I'd finish these this month, but that seems unlikely with the heat. However, I do have a full rest of the day ahead of me. So if I mush, I might be able to finish these today. That's a possibility, but I don't know for sure. As you see, I'm sort of partway through this heel, and I've not started on this heel yet. We'll see. The heel normally doesn't take me that long, and I've nearly finished this one. I'm in the second half of it. And once I've done this heel, I'll do some stripes in this, and there's really not a lot of this left. I'll do the heel on this one as well. And we'll see where that leads us. Yes. Hopefully, I'll get these done before Tour de Fleece. I don't actually know the exact date it starts. I'm just kind of like doing the ballpark. Ooh, 1st of July, but I don't actually know when it starts. I've kind of got some spinning I want to do before Tour de Fleece as well, but if I don't get to it, I'm not that bothered. So we'll see. He's settled now. with upside down bed, which he insists on putting upside down all the time. You're funny. You're funny. You're a gremlin. You are. You're tired, gremlin. That's what's wrong with you. Yeah? You're gonna chill now? Oh, good boy. It's just about 1 o'clock now. And as you can see, done the heel. It's not the best. German churro. And I always end up with these holes. If you know what I'm doing wrong, then please tell me. Because I have no idea. And I have a bit of chaos. Like, when I wound this ball, clearly I didn't do it very well, so it's just like completely fallen apart and it's just turning into a mess. This is still the tiny ball of Atlantico. That's all that's left. So using this up would be great. Because I don't like having like a big stash because I don't have the storage space. So I am trying to use up all my sock stash really. In kind of a nice intentional way rather than making everything look super scrappy. So hence the stripes. But I quite like this. You'd never think these were scrappy socks and they match. I could just start on the Atlantico rose for this. I could just, if you hear a noise in the background, by the way, the dog's snoring. Yeah. She snores a lot. So, and he's tired as well. So I could just start on this Atlantico and start doing this and just not break it. And that way I can pull from the other side and get these two to match. I could just start that here. Or I could go here and finish the heel. So if I do that bit now, while it's still like midday and I have loads of energy, I can go into the afternoon, into the evening with just some like really chill stockinette. This mess. Yes. And there we go. It's 2 o'clock. As you can see, we have ourselves a nice boomerang heel. That is what one side looks like. It, to me, is kind of messy. From a distance, it looks kind of neat. But up close, it looks like a disaster. Then you have this side, which looks like this, which I think it looks neater. But you still got, yeah, you still got those holes. So I don't really know. And if I stretch this side out. Why? Shush. It's a car door. As I say, my parents are on holiday at the moment, so every single car, and he's like, oh no, it could be them. It's not them. It's a good thing we love you, isn't it? The heel. We got this much of the orchid left. And also, this much of the orchid was just a tangled mess. I sorted it out. It didn't take that long. But now, onto the exciting bits. Yes, because now we have these two heels completed. I can start doing a few rows of this in the foot, and we can see how much this will actually produce, which would be super interesting to see. And then once that's used up and done, because I don't think this is going to use a full 10 rows across both socks, I don't think there's any way, then the rest of the sock will use this. And it's just straight stockinette until the end of the sock. And I think just having like one little stripe in the foot will actually look kind of cool. I mean, it won't be the full 10 rows, but it'll kind of look like it's meant to be that way. And as I say, I'll knit from both ends on both socks. And because I'll knit from both ends, one round here, one round there, etc., I'll be able to undo stitches and whatnot really easily to make these match exactly. because there's something just so wonderful about matching socks. It's done. The Atlantico is all used up. Couple of rows, managed a couple of rows, stopping in the middle of the front of the foot, which is fine. Anyone saying you can't stop in the middle of a row, that's not true. So now I'm going to join back in the Orquidea and then use that to knit the rest of the foot and then the toe. And then hopefully should be able to finish these socks. This one is fast asleep lying next to me on the couch. Well, that one is lying in her chair. And I have done 10 rows of this sock and 10 rows of this sock in the leg. And as you can see the stripe of Atlantico, little stripe right here, which matches the stripes here. If anything, it looks a little bit blendy, but I think that's to be expected with this kind of variegated wool that blow in the kind of like bluey, paley blue range. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. He twitched then. I think what happened is I think one of my charm bracelet just... Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone's sensitive. He has been ill this morning, so, you know, he's allowed to feel a bit sensitive. We love him. We do, we love him. Dog paw right there. You can see there's a little stripe here. It's quite blendy. Because they're both kind of blue, you expect them to blend a little bit. I could have probably done a fade with these two colours. But I didn't. And I don't mind. I quite like this look. Evidently, because I keep doing it. I quite like stripes, and I think stripes are like the ultimate stash busting trick to make something look cohesive, even if it's leftovers. This is all leftovers. These socks are functionally for free. I know some people on the internet absolutely hate it when you say that about stash busting, because like, oh, but you already paid for it. I'm like, yeah. Well, in this case, it's literally free because these free skeins were gifted to me as a Christmas present. So there is that. But I don't know. I think you can frame it in all kinds of different ways. And I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way of doing it. Say my Whiskey Sunrise socks on my Ravelry, I have them listed as costing me £20 because that's what the skein cost me. Is a £20 hand-dyed skein of wool in all these greeny, orangey colours, beautiful. And that's what it cost me. And so I listed those socks as taking £20. But reality is, I got at least 2 pairs of socks out of that. So in reality, you could argue that both pairs cost me £10. You could make that argument. But that's not how I classed it. I classed it as the first one cost me 20 and the second one cost me 0. And the reason why I did that is because I want to encourage myself to use my stash whenever possible and not just continuously buy more wool. Because I could be dreadful for that. I could be really dreadful for that. So it's more of a psychological thing at that stage. Sorry. I think how you count it depends on what you want out of your stash and what you want out of the tracking. If you want like an exact, if you're like a business and you want an exact itemized, okay, this is how many socks I produced out of this wool, then yeah, you probably want to split it. Say that 10-10, for example, that 10 socks. So, okay, both socks took £10 to create in terms of materials. But if you're a home maker and you want to burn through your stash, well, maybe you say, okay, if I buy wool specifically for this project, that cost goes against that project. And then any leftovers that I use then are technically free. You could make that argument. And I think it ultimately depends on what your goals are and what it is you're trying to achieve. Anyway, I'm going to carry on knitting the feet of these 2 socks and then I shall come back. And this one, meanwhile, is going to snooze. Okay, it's the next day, which means it's the 1st of June, and I have completely failed to knit 3 socks in June. Did I say 1st of June? I meant 1st of July. I have failed. But I still think... Oh, hello. I still think we've done pretty well here. Got the heel done, and this is most of the foot. Still done pretty well. This is... Hello. I'm sorry. 52 rows total from the heel. And row here is row 50. And then there are 2 rows here that you'll notice are in a different color. Now, these rows are done in this. This is Gaia. This is Moonlight Fibers Gaia. And you'll be like, oh, well, you ran out of wool, did you? And I'm like, not quite. Not quite. I still have this left. But as you may already be aware, almost certainly this is not enough to finish the sock. 10 more rows plus toe. This is not enough to do both socks. So what I decided to do was I'd do, because I reached a nice sort of round number of 50 on both, for my own sanity and not having to recount every single time, and also because I thought it would look cool, I added 2 rows of this. So 2 rows of the Gaia, and then I will go backwards and forwards between these two with this until I run out of this completely, which I'm going to do very soon. I imagine this would probably do, what, 2 rows? Maybe slightly more, maybe 4, but not much more than that. And then I'll switch over to the Gaia and I'll finish everything off in the Gaia. So you have this little 2-row stripe on both socks, a tiny little stripe of the Orquidea, and then the rest of the foot shall be finished off with the Gaia, and you'll have a contrast toe in the Gaia, which I think, considering the striping we have back here and how kind of blendy it looks, I think that would actually look really good, because there are like subtle little bits of green in the Orquidea. So I think having this tiny little stripe here might help it blend a little bit better. Not that I mind if there's a big contrast toe that's like an obvious difference. I don't mind that at all. So I think that'll give it a good look. So I'm going to carry on with that. I'll knit the 2 rows of Gaia on this foot, which will put me up to 52 rows on both. And then I will use up the last of the Orquidea. I will knit the rest of the foot with the Gaia and finish the toe. Yes. While that one destroys this toy. So now I'm just going round with the leftover of the Orquidea until that is finished. This is all used up on both socks. This is an interesting milestone because this is actually the last of the free skeins I was gifted for Christmas. Got used up nicely and made into pretty socks. I think these are looking pretty good. There you go. Heel's about there. That's the leg. There's the actual foot itself. Carries on going. You can see the 2 rows of the Gaia, and the rest of the Orquidea is the end of the Orquidea. That's the end of the free skeins I was given for Christmas. And now I'm going to use this Gaia to finish the sock, including the rest of the foot, of which there's not much left, there's only a few rows, and the toe. And I think with this one little stripe here, I think that would make the toe blend into the foot just a little bit more. And I think it shows up nicely because this really brings out, this green really brings out the little bits of green you can see in the Orquidea. So I think this has been a good decision. It will look quite nice once it's done. You're funny. So I've finished the feet and the toes, and I'm just onto the grafting for both socks. I'm really quite impressed with how painterly this is looking. And I think having this extra stripe down here, definitely the right call. It really helps, from a distance especially, it really helps sell the idea that this toe is part of the sock. It's not just kind of been slapped on because I ran out of wool, even though I absolutely did run out of wool. Like, it looks very intentional, which I think is the best outcome for this kind of scrappy sock. Because this is made 100% with leftovers, which is fantastic. I mean, this Gaia, I've made a whole pair of socks out of this. And I've also used it else did I use it in? I've used it for like literally the last 2 rounds of another sock. And you can't really tell, to be honest, because that sock was very, very green overall, so you really can't tell. And I think I was actually striping it. No, honestly, I can't remember. Don't throw away your leftovers, people, because there are things you can do. Leftovers are cool. You can absolutely use them. Yeah. Even if you're like me and you get really annoyed at having leftovers and you don't want a large stash because your storage is that. That is my storage. As you can see, it's full. And thanks to the sock efforts, we've managed to reduce the usage of this shelf quite considerably. It can now maybe fit 2 more skeins. Maybe. But as you can see, this bottom shelf is an absolute disaster. None of it's organised. Well, maybe it's a little bit organised. There's some mohair over there. And there's some DK West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab up there. There's more Gaia. I have another skein of Gaia. That's Moonlight Fibre Magic Carpet. That's more West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab up there. Just random skeins. Just 2 in a random colour. All of this is West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply. That's hand spun. That's hand spun. That's Rowan Creative Linen. That's acrylic. And that's acrylic. That's acrylic. That's hand spun. That's more Creative Linen. That's cotton, but like a really thin cotton that's kind of like sock weight. Wool. I think that might be wool alpaca actually. That's Cascade 220. That's Rowan Felted Tweed, and that's Kid Silk. I think there's some drops and there's some Rowan. So as you can see, it's mostly all natural fibre with like the exception of like that. I think around 2020 is when I made the switch from using acrylic to going, nope, I'm going to go all natural fibre from now on. I think that was around 2020. So 6 years, I've managed to gradually reduce my stash down to, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skeins of acrylic. I'd say that's not too bad considering the overall state of my stash. And this isn't everything, but this is most things. This is everything that's not currently in a project, pretty much. 7 whips right now? Most of which use, like, single skeins. Mostly. Not universally, but mostly. But it needs improvement. So I'd like to reduce this even more, really. Like, that green, I bought that this year. Which is silly, but it was one of those where it's like, £10 for 10 balls of 100% wool, West Yorkshire Spinners, oh my goodness. And it's in this gorgeous green. So I bought it and I'm like, why did I buy it? I don't have a plan for this. I normally, like, I'm a little bit more careful with my wool buying. Absurd. That wants to be a jumper, clearly. Clearly wants to be a jumper. Right, so for our weekly Webring, that's not really weekly because I don't upload weekly. A per video Webring, yes, which all the Webring is. It is where I shout out other human creators on the platform and maybe not on the platform. of various sizes, mostly on the smaller end, so that we can have a set of links, so we can find human creators without being bombarded by the algorithm full of AI and fakery and such. We'll find real people. Yes, brilliant. And this is a real person. What Kate makes. And this channel is fantastic. Look at these thumbnails. Look how pretty. Ludicrous. Every single time I mention anyone who is a maker on this platform, honestly, there are some ridiculously skilled people here. Just look at these cables. Oh my god. I once saw like a jumper that had like this kind of like cable pattern, but it was in like a yoke. I think it was called like the Raspberry Pi jumper or something. Anyway, I just looked at that and I thought, oh, and it's never really left my brain since. So I totally might, absolutely, even though she's like crashing out over it, I might totally like look at that pattern and be like, yeah, I'll make that. I'll it won't happen this year, I can tell you that much, because I have far too many whips. But no, the video that I was watching, and I only got this far into it, and then I shall watch the rest. Yes, I shall. The others I have all watched. Don't let my YouTube history lie to you, because I have multiple accounts. Of course I do. I'm subscribed on both accounts. That's how much I like this channel. Yes. That's breaking up with interchangeable needles. I found this interesting. And the reason why I found this interesting is because I have a set of interchangeable needles. I had 2 sets. I used to have 2. And one set I actually gave to my mum. That's how much I was using it. I.e., I never used it, and I kept the other set because I'm like, oh, these are smaller sizes, so this is probably more useful to me. I might actually use it. I was talking about a fantasy version of myself. I never use interchangeable needles. In all of my videos, you pretty much see me use some like Addy lace needles. That's what I generally use. Which is kind of wild, because there was literally, I did like a charity event, and as a thank you, someone gave me 2 sets of interchangeable needle sets, one of which I gave to my mum and the other one I kept. So it's a lovely gift. That's a really kind and generous gift. But I never use it. And why don't I use it? I think I've used it maybe twice. Unbelievable. Unacceptable. I should go and grab one of my projects right now and just shove an interchangeable needle on it, just so I actually use them. Because, honestly, I have such a strange relationship with interchangeable needles. And, yeah, I think Kate has a different relationship with interchangeable needles, but also kind of similar issues, but different issues. I don't know, I'm rambling. Go check out her channel. She's great, she's chill, she's cool. I have nothing more to say, and I am just rambling, because that is 9 p.m. This is why I am rambling, if you can see that. It's Friday, the 3rd of July, the day this video is going out, and it is 9:30. Clearly, I need to stop recording and go to bed. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye!